Hi guys, and welcome to Theory Lab, and specifically this course all about modes. Now, modes is one of those things that every guitar player at a certain point in their playing, maybe it's an intermediate thing, suddenly go, oh, I need to learn modes, I need to be able to play the modes. Now, I think this is because, it's a really big term in Guitar Magazine, and certainly in the world of theory, it's a big step up from your basic theory ideas, okay? Now, what I'm here to do in this theory section is explain the theory behind modes, okay? Not how to play modes on the guitar, okay? Because that's something which is a whole new world, and to be able to comfortably play and improvise using modes on the guitar is very much a guitar lesson, okay? And something that we will go through in YJ Pro just to make sure that, you really understand how to use these scales, because again, you need to learn them bit by bit, one by one, in a really nice structured manner. What we're going to be doing here, though, is more of a general overview of the modes, what they are, and theoretically what they mean, okay? So, as a basic intro, modes are the 7 degrees of the major scale, okay? Typically, that's what we're talking about when we say modes. We're talking about the major scale modes, okay? Because in like the wider world of theory, a mode is literally any note, so starting from any note of any scale is a different mode of that scale, okay? But here, we're talking about major scale modes, okay? Now, in this lesson, I'm going to show you the basic concept and all the different lovely names that I want you guys to learn, okay? So, here we go. First things first, we're going to be doing this based on a nice, comfortable scale, C major. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here is writing out the C major scale. So I want to really importantly put the numbers above it here. So 1 is C, 2 is D, 3 is E, 4 is F, 5 is G, G ideally, 6 is A, 7 is B, and 8, we've got C, okay? So there's our C major scale, and just because I am a little obsessive, I'm gonna rub that one out and write it again, because it should be nice and clear that that's a G. Okay, cool. So, everything we've done up to now has used this concept, that this is the major scale. Now here's the twist in all of that. If you started, and I'm just going to take a pure random example here, from E and played E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, so basically exactly the same scale, exactly the same set of notes, but started and ended on E, you're going to be playing a different mode, okay? And in that case, you'll be playing something called a Phrygian mode, all right? So the names are not important right now. The main thing is the concept. The concept is that you can start on any one of these 7 different notes, or 7 degrees of the scale, and you'll be playing a different mode. And you know what? It's actually quite mind-blowing when you listen to it. You would never think, from just listening to what I'm saying here, you would never think that it would make any difference starting and ending on a different note. Even, because all the notes are the same. At the end of the day, all the notes are the same. But you know what? It really does. If you try and start and end on B, so B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, it's going to sound really different to if you just start and end on C, okay? And that is the whole concept of modal scales. You're deliberately starting on a different degree of the major scale to create a different sound, okay? Now, the other thing I'm going to put here before we even get started is the chords that you typically harmonize these to, because that's going to be an important part of determining what each mode sounds like, okay? So if you remember, we have a major chord on the 1, okay? And then minor on the 2, minor on the 3, major on the 4, major on the 5, minor on the 6, diminished on the 7, and then back to major, of course, for the root note. Okay? Now, that, when you put it all together like that, is a harmonized key of C major. But it's also going to give us a valid insight as to what each mode is going to sound like. So for example, the mode that's built from the second degree, so this box here, so starting from D and ending on D in this example, is going to sound minor. This one's going to sound minor. This mode is going to sound major, and so on and so forth, okay? Now that's super important because each mode can be categorized as a kind of major mode or a minor mode or a diminished mode, because that's what the sound is kind of based upon. So that's what we're going to need to kind of kick off, okay? And the basic mode names, I'm just going to whiz through them now and then we'll go through them individually. These are what you're going to need to remember. Ionian is the first one, so that's the major scale. Then we've got Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, and then back to the Ionian mode, okay? Now, don't worry about remembering all those now. We're going to go through them individually, but I'm sure some of you will go, oh, God, I think I learned a lick in Dorian once, or I learned a Mixolydian blues thing, or something like that. And this is important because you need to start realizing that these are modal terms and that it's referring to just simply the major scale, but starting from different notes within that, okay? So in the next lesson, we're going to kind of look at the Ionian and Dorian modes. Hi guys, welcome back. And in this lesson, we're going to spend a very brief amount of time looking at the Ionian mode because the Ionian mode is simply the major scale, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply write it out over here, okay? So Ionian. So I'm just going to draw a little line down the middle here. Okay, and we're just going to go like that. And we're going to write on here Ionian. Ionian. That's the first degree. So I'm just going to in brackets here, and I'll tell you what, I'll do it in red because why not, is your first degree of the major scale. It is in fact the major scale. Ionian is major scale. So everything where we've been talking up to now about, you know, do the D major scale, the E major scale, the F major scale, whatever, these are, Ionian is just a fancy term or possibly the original term for the major scale, okay? So it's as simple as that, guys. And, you know, everything you do and have done based on these numbers, 1 to 8, is Ionian, okay? So if you're ever reading a guitar magazine or looking at something online and you're going, and it's saying, right, this is all using a bit of Mixolydian and then a bit of Ionian, you know, it's just the modal terminology for a major scale, basically, okay? So I don't want to spend really any more time on the Ionian, so your only real task from this video, guys, simple as that, is learn the term, Ionian. Hi guys and welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at the Dorian modes. So after our rather short last video, because the Ionian was the major scale, we're now going to look at Dorian. So let's just pop that there, Dorian. Okay, and the Dorian is the second degree of the major scale. Okay, so basically when we look at the C major scale here, okay, we've got D. Okay, is the second degree. So essentially, if I start from D and go across to D, that's going to become a Dorian scale. Okay. Now, there's something else here that we kind of need to understand, because obviously what we've got is we've got ourselves the kind of major scale. We know the root kind of parent key here, and we're just saying that if we start on the D and go around, we've got ourselves a Dorian scale, which is absolutely fine. That gives us the notes D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, okay? But more realistically, what's going to happen is someone's just going to say flat out, right, I need you to play the D Dorian scale now. So you've got two ways of looking at that. You can either say, okay, well, D Dorian is the second degree of the parent major scale, Ionian, and therefore D Dorian is C major, and off you go. You just play the C major scale, but you start from D. Now, I think it's inadvisable or unadvisable to play it like that and to think of it like that, because you really need to start thinking of each individual mode uniquely, kind of separately from just its parent key, okay? That's going to really help you play the mode properly. So, as with everything, there's a formula for the mode, okay? So what I'm going to do for now is just kind of cross off this, this kind of thing up here. So we're going to ignore that for a second, and we're just going to look at the formula for the Dorian, okay? So the formula for the Dorian looks like this, okay? It's a root, then it's the second, then it's the flat third, okay? Then it's the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and a flat seven, okay? So that is the formula for a Dorian mode, okay? Okay, so I'm just going to pop that there. Now, nice, okay, reasonable. So just like any other formula, you know, you're taking your major scale and you're just popping in the notes based on what you've adjusted, okay? So, you know, for example, if I'm going to do a C Dorian, okay, so we've got the C scale up here. If I was doing a C Dorian, you know, this would be C, D, E flat, because I'd be flattening that, F, G, A, and a B flat as well. But we're not going to do that for now because it might just slightly complicate things. The main thing is that that's your formula, okay? Your first task, okay, is kind of, I guess, threefold. One, you're remembering the name Dorian, okay? Two, you're remembering that it's the second degree of the major scale, okay? And therefore, it's a minor mode, okay? So imagine that you're remembering, okay? You're also going to try and remember this formula. Now, this will come into its own, and this will become really clear why we're remembering this as well as this in a later video, okay? So just either write this down or just obviously, you know, bear it in mind. It will be obviously all underneath the video. So get that remembered. And next time we're just going to look at the third mode. Hi guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be continuing our modal quest. Now remember, I'm not giving you all the answers at the moment. We're very much building this up step by step because it's a complicated subject. Okay, so it's something that we need to just learn step by step. Okay, so today we're going to add to our list of 2 modal scales and learn something called the Phrygian mode. Okay, so I'm going to write this down and I hope I'm spelling this correctly. Phrygian, like that. And that is the third mode. Okay, the third mode along. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind. Okay, Phrygian, one, it's a tricky name to remember, so spend some time just with that. And bringing it over to the original major scale, okay, it's the third one along. So in this instance, E Phrygian, okay? And therefore, if you start on E, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E, if you play those notes in those orders, starting from E, ending on an E, you'll be playing an E Phrygian scale, okay? So I'd highly recommend just doing that now. Just play it on the guitar, have a quick listen, and then go, okay, that sounds kind of cool. That's clearly different. And it should, as well, crucially, sound quite minor, okay? Should be a minor mode, okay? And that means that it should sound a little dark, a little edgy maybe. So we now have kind of 2 minor modes. So we know the Dorian was based on a minor, the Phrygian is kind of based on a minor, and that original Ionian is based on this major. Now, of course, we're going to add this second half to this, okay? So that's the basic idea. We're also going to learn the actual formula, scale formula for Phrygian, okay? So let's just write Phrygian here, okay? Phrygian. And here's the formula for the scale, okay? It's 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, then it's flat 6 and flat 7, okay? So we've got ourselves another formula. We could start to kind of relate the two, but we're not going to really go into that quite yet because, like I said, I'm not giving you all the answers at this point. I'm just giving you the good kind of classic knowledge, okay? And then we're going to come back to this concept in the middle here in a later video, in modes part 2, basically. So for your kind of purpose at the moment, you're just remembering that, maybe writing it down on a sheet so you've got these kind of together, and then gradually we'll come back and, you know, go through them. Remember that we originally did Ionian, and the Ionian is just simply, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just the basic major scale, so we didn't write it down here, okay? So, Phrygian, it's a minor, okay? It's got a crazy name, Cool. It's the third degree of the major scale, and this is the formula for it. Okay, so try and get all of that information just in your head, and we'll carry on with one more mode in this section next time. Okay guys, welcome back, and we're going to look at one more mode in this section, okay? And it's just because I don't want to overwhelm you with information. I really want to make sure that you're absorbing this stuff and have time to go away and memorize it, okay? So the last mode we're looking at here is called Lydian. So I'm just going to pop this down here, Lydian, okay? Spelt like that, L-Y-D-I-A-N, and that is the fourth modal scale, okay? Based on the major scale, okay? So, there we have it. Now, let's just kind of get used to that information. So we've got Lydian. It's the fourth degree of the major scale, and it is a major mode. So it's based on a kind of major chord and is a major mode, okay? So that means that if you go from F to G to A to B to C to D to E and then back to F again, you're playing a Lydian scale. And it's going to sound a bit majory, okay? So have a listen to it. Try it now. Just try and play the major scale, the C major scale, from F to F, okay? And that will give you a very clear sound of what this Lydian is, okay? And again, it's for you to kind of get it in your mind what it sounds like and to try and really establish the vibe in your head, but it should sound major. It certainly doesn't sound particularly minor, and therefore it's in the major category, but it will sound different to your Ionian, major scale, okay? Now, that's our first task, okay? Just remember that concept. So fourth degree is called Lydian, and it's a major mode. And then, of course, just like with the others, we're going to be working out the formula, the chord formula for it. So I'm just going to write down here, Lydian, okay? Now, chord formula for a Lydian, or the scale formula, I should say, sorry, is this. So it's 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So we've got ourselves a whole new ball game with this one, okay? All the flats in here, okay? But in the Lydian, we can see that it's just a sharp 4. And if you think about what your basic Ionian is, your basic major scale, that's got no sharp 4, so it's just 4. Okay, so we can already see why we consider it a Lydian. It's got a root, a third, a fifth. That's a major scale, isn't it? Okay, and then it's got the seventh, which is a major seventh. So everything about the rest of these notes screams major. Okay, but this sharp 4 is where you get this big difference, this really cool difference to the whole thing, and therefore why it becomes the Lydian scale. Okay. So there's our information. Okay, so before you go on to the next course and look at the rest of the modes and then more information about these modes, I just want you to get these first 4 in your head. We've got Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. Just get used to saying those terms. That's a pretty good start, to be honest. Then just get used to the fact that we've got a major mode and 2 minor modes, and learn these formulas, okay? The Ionian one is a piece of cake. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a major scale. You've got to learn the Dorian, the Phrygian, and the Lydian, okay? That's just part and parcel of what has to happen to get this right, okay? So, good luck getting all that together. Keep thinking about this, keep listening to it as you actually play through the scales on the guitar. And in the next course, the next section, we're going to be doing the second half of the modes, okay, once your brain's ready to digest it, and then talk about these things, these formulas more specifically, and how you really work with these modes.